come back for Weezer. I'll hand her to you. Hi, it's me, Lisa Swikowski with Manitowen Press, and I'm going to be reading tonight part of my actually the entire short story, packaged for your convenience. We had a little bit of technical difficulties about 60 seconds ago. No, it did not involve Meezer. As a matter of fact, Meezer was right on cue. She's a smart girl. When I read the story to you tonight, and you hear the character of Bandit, think about Meezer. And think about these blue eyes. Yeah? Meezer is starring as Bandit. She's not actually starring, but think about it in your mind. Another technical difficulty. How do you get this?
That's still the wording you had the last time.
Yeah.
It's just going to be there.
Okay, but then how do I see myself on here? Same technical difficulty as earlier. I'm just going to have to wing it, huh? Because it's not going to show me the full screen, is it?
It's not. No.
Unless I do that. That actually,
It made it small.
no, that's okay. That actually helps. Thank you. My technical advisor, Marie. She really is my, oh my gosh, she really is my technical advisor. Okay, so we're done with a little bit of a screen test there. All right, just about ready while you're joining us. Anyway, some of you are probably wondering how I can still look the same 30 years after appearing on Lisa Gibbons' show. Yeah, I bet you're wondering. Well, follow me for beauty tips. Woo! Perfect Predator. It's a book I wrote several years ago. It's on Kindle. You don't even have to wait for the hard copy to get to you because it's a short story. It comes in 3 parts. It really is meant to be a short story, so it's better to get it on Kindle. All right, so tonight I'm going to be reading to you Packaged for Your Convenience. If you like cats, it's going to trigger you. If you like artificial intelligence, it's going to excite you. Okay, that being said, this is my second reading tonight. I already read on my own author page this story, and without any further ado, as they say, here we go, getting into character now. I was boxed in, 2 lanes to my left and 2 lanes to my right, cars, trucks, buses lined up for miles as far as I could see. For the 3rd time in as many minutes, I glanced at the rear view mirror and saw seemingly endless plumes of exhaust emanating from hundreds of motorized monsters. We hadn't budged for 5 minutes, so close, so very close to the state line and home. I turned on the radio since satellite wasn't working. Neither was my phone, for that matter. My tablet had run out of battery power hours ago, since its last charge at the hotel the night before. All that technology, and yet I'd packed the charging cords in some unknown place, maybe in the front pocket of which suitcase? Wherever the cords were, I sure couldn't reach them now. As I turned for a station, I realized I'd only moved 1.5 miles hour. I looked at the cars nearest to mine and saw frustrated drivers. As we neared Lake Michigan, our vehicles looked like wildebeests, heading for a storm-swollen stream. Yet, we were like a slow, intoxicated version of those teeming herds. What was holding us up? I looked to my right and saw the pained expression of a driver. She was rubbing her temples. I was beginning to get a tension headache too and ran my fingers through my long waves several times. After changing channels yet again, the song I'm Not a Number by Bob Seger came on. I laughed out loud. The driver to my left looked at me with scorn. Then his eyes widened as all 3 of my traveling companions, stirred to wakefulness, looked out the window. I bet he never expected to see cats on his commute. Brownie, a small tabby, was staring back at him, while a huge, red, fluffy male named Zizi jumped to situate himself on the dashboard and began to clean his junk, as most cats will do, given an already awkward situation. I laughed even more. Both drivers nearest to me had expressions that wavered from disbelief to contempt and back again. Sorry. I didn't take a long pause like this before. I just sort of lost my breath. I am sorry. This was supposed to be in print. It wasn't on print. This is incredibly embarrassing. There we go. We're going to take it from here. Zizi jumped to situate himself on the dashboard and began to clean his junk as most cats will do, given an already awkward situation. I laughed even more. Both drivers nearest to me had expressions that wavered from disbelief to contempt and back as Bandit, my lifelong companion, a delicate old feline of 21 years, wormed her way onto my lap. Dangerous, I know, but she was my best traveler. I moved Bandit back to a seat I'd made just for her next to me on the center console. The old lady looked at me with her black-rimmed blue eyes. "This is your spot," I pointed to where she sat. "This is my space, right here," I motioned with my hands. Bob Seger's song ended, and there was a litany of commercials, so I searched for another station. A tune was ending. Then Jordan St. Cyr's song came on, "Weary Traveler." It was so fitting. A truck edged its way in front of the car just ahead of me, and I saw a sign that read, "Special Event, Detour." I wasn't going to a special event. In fact, I was supposed to help bring in the harvest back at my farm later that morning. At this point, afternoon, I corrected myself. I was weary, yes, and hungry. Oh, how I wished I could have Drone Dash deliver some fast food while I was sitting here, but I was on a highway, no actual address, with a mile marker I couldn't see. Oh, goodness, what mile marker am I at? I looked to my inoperable phone. It had even less battery now than it had earlier and absolutely no signal. Soon the truck was blocking my station, causing screeching and static to make zapping noises through the speakers. Bandit, Brownie, and Zizi all put their ears back. I searched as yet for another station and got the news. Just as well. And just below the Wisconsin Dells, that whole area will get hit with some major electrical storms beginning early tomorrow and lasting for the next couple days. The front will miss Chicago's area and the suburbs. "Crap," I muttered, pounding on the steering wheel, causing Brownie and Zizi and Bandit to stir. You know what, guys? I'm still having the same problem. The technical difficulty was we were supposed to print this out, and we could not get a printer to work. And I'm going to have to read it from the beginning. Those of you that are joining us late, that's probably just as well. Hopefully I'm not making a big fool of myself, but I'm going to start over. Please forgive me. I don't do this regularly. I am not a broadcaster. I am not an actress. I'm an author. This is a big deal for me. So here we start again. From the top. I'm guaranteeing I won't make a mistake this time. I have to read it from a computer. I was boxed in. 2 lanes to my left and 2 lanes to my right. Cars, trucks, buses, lined up for miles as far as I could see. For the 3rd time in as many minutes, I glanced at the rear view mirror and saw seemingly endless plumes of exhaust emanating from hundreds of motorized monsters. We hadn't budged for 5 minutes. So close, so very close to the state line and home. I turned on the radio since satellite wasn't working. Neither was my phone, for that matter. My tablet had run out of battery power hours ago since its last charge at the hotel the night before. All that technology, and yet I'd packed the charging cords in some unknown place, maybe the front pocket of which suitcase? Wherever the cords were, I sure couldn't reach them now. As I searched for a station, I realized I'd only moved 1.5 miles. I looked at the cars nearest mine and saw frustrated drivers. As we neared Lake Michigan, our vehicles looked like wildebeests heading for storm-swollen streams, yet we were like a slow, intoxicated version of those teeming herds. What was holding us up? I looked to my right and saw the pained expression of a driver. She was rubbing her temples. I was beginning to get a tension headache too and ran my fingers through my long waves several times. After changing channels yet again, the song I'm Not a Number by Bob Seger came on. I laughed out loud. The driver to my left looked at me with scorn, then his eyes widened as all three of my traveling companions, stirred to wakefulness, looked out the window. I bet he never expected to see cats on his commute. Brownie, a small tabby, was staring back with him, while a huge, red, fluffy male named Zizi jumped to situate himself on the dashboard and began to clean his junk, as most cats will do, given an already awkward situation. I laughed even more. Both drivers nearest me had expressions that wavered from disbelief to contempt and back again, as Bandit, my lifelong companion, a delicate old feline of 21 years, wormed her way onto my lap. Dangerous, I know, but she was my best traveler. I moved Bandit back to a seat I'd made just for her next to me on the center console. The old lady looked at me with her black-rimmed blue eyes. "This is your spot," I pointed to where she sat. "This is my space, right here," I motioned around my seat. Bob Seger's song ended, and there was a litany of commercials, so I searched for another station. A tune was ending. Then Jordan St. Cyr's song, "Weary Traveler," began to play. It was so fitting. A truck edged its way in front of the car just ahead of me, and I saw a sign that read, "Special Event, Detour." I wasn't going to a special event. In fact, I was supposed to help bring in the harvest back at my farm later that morning. At this point, afternoon, I corrected myself. I was weary, yes, and hungry. Oh, how I wished I could have Drone Dash deliver some fast food while I was sitting here. But I was on a highway, no actual address, with a mile marker I couldn't quite see. I looked to my inoperable phone. It had even less battery now than it had earlier, and absolutely no signal. Soon, the truck was blocking my station, causing screeching and static to make zapping noises through the speakers. Bandit, Brownie, and Zizi all put their ears back. I searched as yet for another station and got the news, just as well. "And just above the Wisconsin Dells, that whole area will get hit with some major electrical storms beginning early tomorrow and lasting for the next couple days. The front will miss Chicago's area and its suburbs." "Crap," I muttered, pounding the steering wheel, startling Brownie and Zizi. Bandit must have been going deaf, as she didn't even glance at me. This was the time of year when sudden changes in weather could bankrupt a family farm. There was the possibility that hail could pulverize our orchards, fields, and garden beds in less than an hour. In other years, a drought could ruin most vegetables. They wouldn't be juicy and sweet if the plants survived at all. Farmers live by the weather, the seasons, and even the insects, both good and bad. The only reason I was traveling at this time was that my uncle, Dewey Beckley, retired farmer, former mayor, and now full-time snowbird, wanted to get to Arizona earlier than usual this year. At 94, he was as spry and sharp as my college-aged son Hank, although a little slower getting in and out of the vehicle. The old man was tall and lanky, and I'd been driving him for about 15 years. 4 days down, about 2 days back. The last 4 years, I took his cat and mine on the journey. 4 cats to Arizona, and sometimes Hank or my daughter Susie helping to drive. About every other rest stop, people would gawk as they saw us pull up with all the cats. Uncle Dew would stare back at the truck drivers, grin, and say, "The next man that says, 'Now that's a car full of pussy,' is going to get a mouthful of my fist." Most drivers would chuckle. Some would look angry and offended. You could see his eyes crinkle in mirth and the bolo tie clasped about his throat. It would bob up and down, and he'd stifle a chuckle. If you're wondering why I was traveling with these felines in the first place, well, my husband Dale was too busy working at the cannery and the farm to feed the house cats or clean their litter boxes. We'd already lost some of the barn cats and kittens to coyotes, foxes, and hawks, so I wouldn't let my favorite kitties wander outside, not even for less than a week. These particular cats had become pseudo-children as my own offspring inevitably grew into adulthood. My first indoor cat, who I'd raised and bottle-fed as an orphaned kitten, was Bandit. My extended farm family called her the freeloader, since she had no real job. Then 2 more kitty cats, ZZ and Brownie, joined our family nearly 2 decades later. Many times Bandit would sit by my side in our farm's pickup truck, an old beetle green Ford F-150, as I drove out to the fields to take Dale his lunch and sometimes dinner. Other days she would ride along into town when I'd make the deposits from our farm stand at our bank's drive-through, or when I tended to Uncle Dew when he had pneumonia and made his recovery. Better than ever, I will add. Bandit taught the other house cats to mind and not jump out of the car until told. Oh, and then there was the time she sat inside when Brownie and ZZ blew out of the Ford at another farm, and that farm's red heeler chased them back inside the truck. Bandit wisely gave them an "I told you so" glance and flicked her tail a few times. This year, Hank was starting college. Susie was nearly married, and my other daughter Naomi was chasing her 5 kids around our farmhouse while her husband and mine tried to keep up with the farm work. I was driving Dew's blue SUV. He paid for the fuel going down and gave me one of his cards for coming back. I knew he could afford it, but I still felt bad that I was using his charge card and that I was using extra gasoline on this detour, and I was very grateful that his car was not electric. An announcement on the radio broke into my thoughts. Senator Jake Bolton will be speaking at the mall today, downtown. His motorcade will be arriving at any moment. Some of you late commuters might have rerouted or stopped altogether. My family hated Jake Bolton, a short, mean-looking man with gray eyes and frosty hair to match, hiding behind white teeth and a fake smile. I knew it was fake because my Uncle Dew, a supervisor at the Bolton family's cannery, had punched Bolton's lights out more than 50 years previous. Joshua Bolton, Jake's father, had owned and operated the facility. It had been in the Bolton family for generations. Little Pee-wee, as Jake was called back then, had demanded Dew's crew go back and operate the lines under dangerous circumstances following a flood at the factory. My uncle refused to start work until the facility was cleaned and inspected. Pee-wee threatened not only his job, but his life. The last straw was when Pee-wee made unsavory remarks about my aunt. My patient, gentle, kind uncle punched Jake Bolton twice, breaking the bones in his face, and he went down at Uncle Dew's steel-toed boots. "Kick him!" came voices around the scene, but Dewey Beckley did not believe in kicking a man when he was down. In fact, he reached out to Pee-wee as Joshua Bolton came upon the scene. Blood pulsed from Pee-wee's nose and mouth. "Now what's this?" yelled the old man, who was dressed in coveralls, not a suit like his son. Crimson puddled with what was left of the muddy floodwaters. Pee-wee tried to explain, but his father Joshua went on. Pointing in his son's face, the older man snarled, I explicitly told you we would not operate the factory until this mess could be cleaned up and to send most of the workers on home. We still haven't checked the lines, and there's a possibility. He now turned left and pointed the same finger that one over there might be an electrical hazard. Pee-wee, voice sounding a little muffled, said, We'll lose money if we don't get these lazy jerks back to work before the weekend. Joshua Bolton listened intently to his son, considered the younger man's words for a moment. He looked around at his employees. These were his neighbors, his friends, men and ladies. He nodded toward the women in their hairnets. Did you hear that? They all nodded solemnly. Pee-wee grinned, gap-toothed, beneath his unstaunched nose. The older Bolton sighed. Then, in a loud voice, said, I don't want you to come back until Tuesday, after the weekend. Take some boxes of produce for yourselves. See if you can some of that for yourselves. Make pies or whatever. You've got the next 6 days off with pay. Pee-wee's eyes went wide. What about Beckley here? He punched me for no good reason. His father looked him straight in the pupils and explained with a low voice that only Pee-wee and my uncle could hear. I was a few steps away in Beckley's office, waiting to talk to him when you stormed over and demanded that his crew start work on their conveyor belts. Uncle Dew's eyes went wide, wondering why he was unaware that old Josh Bolton had been waiting for him. We can't get these lines inspected until tomorrow, let alone get them fixed, if they even need fixing. I was waiting in the office to tell Beckley to send our people home, just like I told you. I swear he has more common sense than you do. I heard everything. I saw everything. If Beckley hadn't punched you, I would have. Now get. Old man Bolton pointed to an exit. Pee-wee glared at his father, clenched his fists and his bloody jaw. I quit anyway, you old bag of wind. A few teeth landed on the muddy concrete beneath his buckling knees. I'm going to complete my degree without you and get as far from this state as I can. So, as legend had it, and the workers told it, Pee-wee got as far as Illinois, which was not really far when you think about it, and really made something of himself. Jake Bolton majored in law and minored in technology. He might have started out as an entitled trust fund megalomaniac, but he was still his father's son, a self-made man. To hear Joshua Bolton retell the story decade after decade until his demise, you'd think that was the plan all along. To hear Uncle Dew tell it, going even farther back, recalling stories of Jake plagiarizing high school papers, gut-punching football players from the opposing teams when the referees weren't looking, and at least one senior affair that led to a teacher being dismissed, Dew would say that was one kid that they should have thrown out the baby and kept the afterbirth. I was able to move the SUV just a bit and became aware of cones, barrels, and a lane split before I could follow the sign to take the route directing travelers to Wisconsin. 3 trucks had me boxed in. I couldn't exactly back up. I let out a deep breath that I hadn't realized I was holding in. This time, Bandit stirred, looked up at me, and I stroked her. Looks like I won't be making it to help with the harvest after all. She only purred. 2 hours later, we, the drivers, in order to form a more perfect traffic flow, hundreds of cars were directed to the parking structure under the mall. I saw a large sign, free parking today. I really didn't want to be there, but had no other choice. I found a spot near a booth and decided to wait in the car until after Bolton had left the city. A woman in a guard uniform motioned for me to roll down my window. I only moved it down about 2 inches and pointed at my cats. She nodded and said, "You can leave them inside your vehicle for an hour or two. It's really okay. Our garage is temperature controlled, and since we're underground, no sunlight will get in to heat up your car. Look how close you are to the booth. You can grab a bite to eat at one of our many restaurants and even catch Senator Bolton's speech." She smiled. "Just leave our windows cracked about an inch or two." With a little reluctance, I agreed. My stomach was rumbling and had run out of snacks hours ago. Likewise, my thermos was empty. I gave the cats what was left of some bottled water, filled their bowls with kibbles, and cleaned their litter box, which was situated on the floor of the back seat. Before I opened the car door, Bandit got back into my lap, and I held her for a few minutes. I looked into her blue eyes and rocked her like a baby, muttering sweetly to her. She purred loudly. I set her down and patted the other 2 cats as I gathered the used litter bag and my purse. As I reached the trash can by the ticket booth, a heavily pregnant woman with a sniffling toddler holding her right hand and a preschooler to her left was arguing with the guard and the lady in the booth. She pointed at me. "I heard you tell that lady there that this garage is temperature controlled. It's only for 10 minutes. I've been in traffic for 5 or 6 hours trying to get around the Bolton motorcade. I have to buy a change of clothes for my son now since he got car sick, change my daughter's diaper, and feed them. It will only be 10 minutes, she repeated. "Ma'am, you can't leave your—" The guard's voice faded in the distance as I went through the doors at the mall and was greeted at a desk. "Key, please," said the woman. "Oh, I don't need valet parking," I answered. "It's not to move your car. It's for our new service that we're introducing today as part of Senator Bolton's visit. He's running for president, you know." I rolled my eyes and said sarcastically, "I hadn't heard," knowing full well that sneaky little Pee-wee aspired to lead our nation. "Yes," she continued, "any and all of your packages, even from other stores, will be wrapped for your convenience." "I don't want strangers going through my car," I protested. "Not strangers," she continued, not missing a breath. "It's the new artificial intelligence, humanoid technology that Senator Bolton invented himself." The woman managed to swipe the keys dangling from my fist. I was starving by then and could smell some barbecue around the corner. "I don't have any packages. I didn't go shopping," I said, half-heartedly attempting to get the keys back. I was starting to feel pressure on my bladder. My eyes searched for a restroom beyond the glass doors as the woman asked for my driver's license and car details. I acquiesced and repeated, "I don't have any purchases from anywhere. Make a note of that." A young man, also working behind the desk, looked surprised when the young mother impatiently rushed in from behind me, listened for a moment, and slammed down her key. "Walker, old rusted ancient Astro van from another damned century, spot A1. As she dragged her 2 bawling youngsters, she looked back for a half second and yelled, "And I'll be back in 10 minutes. Moments later, the determined guard burst through the parking garage doors, asking, "A1?" and snatched the keys from the desk in front of the nodding young man. The woman, on the mother's heels, was shuffling and sweating noticeably through her uniform, falling further behind. Soon the little family was lost in the crowd. I made my way to the restroom and afterward the food court. Before long, I ordered a barbecue sandwich and tried to use my phone while I dined. Absolutely no juice in its batteries, not even for a quick text. My eyes spotted a charging station, but there was not one port or cord that didn't already have an energy-hungry device suckling from it. I finished the sandwich and made my way to the stage. There he was, Senator Pee-wee, about halfway through his long-winded talk about jobs for people in the artificial intelligence industry, from creation to repair and programming, promises he vowed to keep if he became president. Blah, blah, blah. Then one sentence caught me. Soon you won't have to worry about foreign hands picking your vegetables or even canning them for you. We can even program our bots to walk your dogs, do hard labor, and even perform the most gentle act, diapering a baby. Searching for affordable daycare will be a thing of the past. Applause drowned out a few of the detractors in the crowd. Eventually, my corporation hopes to buy the few remaining family farms in this great nation and mechanize them. This should bring down costs at the supermarket. A tall man in front of me shifted slightly, and I could see a blank stare coming from Bolton's gray, soulless eyes. He looked like a puppet, just mouthing the words from his fake, gleaming white teeth. I got up on a bench. What if we want to keep our farms? I shouted. Somehow he heard me, although he could not see my face. He answered, with taxes increasing on homesteads and small family farms, it's a kindness to relieve you of that burden, and his face brightened. It's better for all consumers if the government owns the farms, the food, the farmland, the animals, and so on. And what if I want to keep my farm? I repeated, but my voice was drowned out in a sea of people shouting, clapping, eagerly hoping for lower food costs. I looked around at the multitude and feared for my little organic farm, my peaceful yet busy lifestyle. In fact, we are testing, and he grinned widely, this technology as I speak, in the parking garage. Any and all packages are being wrapped for your convenience. Some in gift wrap, others in bags, meats in shrink wrap, in complimentary coolers and ice. All at no cost to you, but as part of the funds I've earmarked and set aside myself to introduce my droids to you. I was already walking away. A funny, creepy feeling was growing in my core. My cats would sit for me, but not for a guard, a stranger, or a robot. I needed to get back to the garage. I exited the mall and walked into its adjacent parking garage. I stretched over the counter and quickly grabbed my keys from behind the startled woman. A3, I demanded as I reached behind her, still upset by Senator Bolton's words. I opened the doors to the garage, to the cries and screams of several people. Some were angry. One woman was on her knees, wailing and moaning. It was the young mother. I got them, the guard said, just ahead of me and beside the rusted old van. Several rows away, droids were pushing some of the shoppers aside, reaching into cars, opening trunks, busily wrapping packages and boxes with lightning speed. The mother screamed as what appeared to be an infant car seat was pulled out of her van by the guard. It was wrapped in pretty pink paper with a crimson bow around it. Her children sobbed, and I stood in shock as both the mother and guard unwrapped the car seat. A baby, maybe 5 months old, startled and began to cry. The mother said, I wasn't even gone for more than 10, maybe 15 minutes. On humanoid legs, from a few rows away, a faceless, gunmetal-colored droid walked back to Section A. It saluted us with its spindly-fingered hands, bowed and said, wrapped for your convenience with the gentlest of care. The mother took the little child out and clutched it to her chest. Looking inside Uncle Dew's car, I noticed no movement. I put the keys up, hand shaky, chest pounding. I pressed the fob. Opening a door, I heard a hiss and was almost grateful for it. A very angry Zizi had one clawed paw out of a gift bag. secured with decorative bows, but otherwise looked like a mummy. I peeled away the layers of tissue paper from his face. At the bottom of that sack it was decorated in a pretty blue and brown paw print pattern, which belied the horror beneath. I found what appeared to be that package. It was tightly bound in decorative burlap and a matching jute string. I struggled to untie it. Inside was little Brownie, gasping for air. She stopped moving the moment I freed her from her cruel bindings. Wildly hissing and clawing, Zizi dashed under a seat, a blur of red, bushy fur. Only his tail, bent halfway, I noticed, showed from beneath. I searched for Bandit. My eyes focused on a small cooler, one that hadn't come up on a trip from Arizona with me. I opened it up, and under a layer of ice, I found a package of what appeared to me to be a block of meat, maybe 6 pounds dead weight. I peeled back the layers of freezer wrap and saw blue eyes, wide, staring back at me, blankly. The droid peeked into my car over my back and said, "Packaged for your convenience." I hope you enjoyed tonight's reading of Packaged for Your Convenience. It'll give you a lot to think about. What freedoms are we giving away? Technology is great. It's useful. It's a tool. But we shouldn't be weighted down by an entire tool chest, should we? We should not relinquish our rights just because somebody else thinks that they know better. It gives us a lot to think about. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union. Look that up, those of you that are not familiar with it. Okay, that was just a short story. I'm with Manitowen Press, as you know. We've got several authors. This is The House on Pepper Street by Anita Alio, and I'm hoping to interview her in a few days, maybe, or somebody else from Manitowen Press might interview her. But these are stories of the Andrews family who lived through an actual haunting. Anita is a sensitive or a clairvoyant, and she wrote this book. I'm one of the editors, just one of the editors with Manitowen Press, and I helped to edit and proofread Ghost's Banquet. You can get it on Kindle if you don't want to wait for the paperback. You can get it on Kindle. They are tales. It's a potluck of horror stories for you. Several different authors. We've got Lola Laszlo. We've got I myself. We've got Anita. Okay. Also, Wendy's Last Ride. I've been following the story even more than I have spent time writing it, and I did use, oh my goodness, it was about 20 years in the making roughly, but I've been very concerned with who the actual corpse was, or remains that were found in a cave about 20 some years ago, and they dated back about 100 years, and there's a good chance it might be Everett Royce. If anybody's been following the story, Webb Hill, St. George, Utah, Washington County, it could be Everett Royce. That's my opinion. I don't know who else to reach out to about that, but I have been doing the research. Okay, last but not least, Manitowen Press does a lot of anthologies. If you would like to get in on our spring anthology, follow Manitowen Press. We're going to be doing submissions for short stories. This was their winter anthology, and for the first time this season, we had Christmas in July. We're going to do this for Christmas also. We have a hardcover of White Elephant Tales. Again, I helped to edit it. We've got a crew of editors, but for some reason I like to put my name on here since I guess I'm the prolific author. Let's see. We have here's just one of the illustrations. The illustrations are done by the talented Linda Forbes Streeter, a Michigan artist, and she did some incredible artwork in our Christmas stories. And you can order all these through Amazon Kindle and the press also. I don't know how the color's going to come through, but these delicate, beautiful little birds, she did those too. We've got stories and poems. You could be a dentist. We have a dentist that wrote poetry for this. You can be a respiratory therapist. Of course, our respiratory therapists have been busy, but there are stories from respiratory therapists in our anthologies. A teacher, a homemaker, a college student. You want to participate, please send us an edited manuscript and allow us also to edit it for content and time. Anyways, those are just some of the stories that Manitowen Press does. And again, I hope you enjoyed my very first evening of live readings, my very first that I've done at Manitowen Press. The first one I did on my own personal Facebook page. And the Halloween season is upon us, where we're here to spook each other. And again, I did television on the Lisa Gibbons show. I was nerd number one. If you follow my pages, you might be able to find the link. And I still look the same. What is my beauty secret? Do you think maybe, just maybe, it might be in this book, Perfect Predator, that I wrote? Ooh, it's sure to scare you. Get this on Kindle. It's a short story. It's reasonably priced for a short story on Kindle. It's sure to knock your socks off. It's not going to be very detailed because I did have some feedback that they said it just wasn't detailed enough. Well, the concept of a short story is you're not going to go into great detail. I got a shout out to Diana Gabaldon. She writes the Outlander series of books, and she goes into such great detail, and I am one person that actually enjoys that great detail. I feel like I'm actually on the battlefield in Scotland, and then decades later I feel like I'm in North Carolina, and it's amazing for the details. Yet somebody that read this on Kindle was very disappointed that there wasn't any detail. It's a short story, people. Please understand that. And I do appreciate that people said there could be more detail in it, and that's great, but it was just meant to be a short Halloween read, so you can read it and then a couple hours later hand out some Halloween candy. So I just wanted to say to all the people at Manitowen Press, all the authors, the poets, illustrators, editors, proofreaders, you're all doing great, and I'm glad to be a part of this. And for you readers, I love you, and follow me on my Facebook page and follow our other authors. You'll be hearing more about them in the months to come. See ya.